Hey everyone, Haunted Hayride Zenny here, and it is the spookiest time of the year. My favorite time of the year, because I enjoy spooky stuff. Today's video is going to be a little different because I was recently feeling nostalgic and wanted to reminisce on some times that me and the boys did some spooky and dumb things, and share some ghost stories with y'all, while eating Hostess scary cakes, filled with scream filling. So get comfy, relax, not too relaxed, because I need you on full alert when things start to get spooky. How do people do it with one finger? That's a crack. A quick do review for Voodoo 2022. Sour gummy worms with the sour sucked off. Actually pretty good. It's the first time I bought a full 12 pack of special flavored Mountain Dew. I would say if you've had the lemonade kind, it kind of has that lemonade sour after kick. 8 out of 10. Voodoo, run from my magic. After eating your scary cake, you wash it down with some Mountain Dew Voodoo. I don't know what's wrong with me. I love a horror movie, but I hate watching them. Not that I'm too scared of them, I just lose interest because I feel like I'm being set up to follow a scripted path of a character. Or maybe because they are just so slow and boring. I don't know, you're just gonna have to force me to watch a horror movie on like Discord movie night or something. I love the spirit of them though. What I love most is the environment or landscapes of all horror media. I remember being shown The Witch, or The Witch. I was never scared or frightened while watching it, but I loved the big creepy forest they were in. What made me uneasy was we were watching it in the middle of nowhere, in a rustic, tiny box of a cabin miles away from any civilization in the Porcupine Mountains Wilderness State Park, which is a large chunk of secluded land far removed from pretty much everything. I got scary cake in my keyboard. And that there has been rumors of black bears and mountain lions in the area. What I'm getting at was the actual cabin and forest I was in was much scarier than the movie itself. And I love that. That was the first subject of this video. Physically being in real life places that give off negative auras. Which perfectly transitions us into something else that is completely unknown. Ghosts! My favorite otherworldly type of hauntings. It's apparently mow your lawn day. Everyone has a paranormal story or experience to tell. Ghosts are mystical in a way. They come in all sorts of shapes and forms. Particularly invisible. Because they aren't real. Or are they? I have like so many ideas for future videos. So, let's live up some dumb, uneventful past ghost hunting experiences of mine.
Silent Hill was inspired by a real ghost town in Pennsylvania that has molten caves of fire underneath it, still spreading and burning to this day. The cabin in The Witch peacefully sits alone in an open field, but a black forest surrounds it. All you can do is peer in from the outside and imagine what waits inside. Every source of sunlight has been blanketed by canopies of tree branches, shrouding it in a thick, quiet darkness. How far do the labyrinths of abandoned coal mines in Centralia spread? The mines have been burning for over 60 years. Some go down 300 feet. Yet toxic fumes still plume from buckled concrete from excess heat. The fire is predicted to last up to 250 years. The life-threatening smoke makes it impossible to truly see the full scope of what lies beneath this vacant town. I love the eerie and mysterious vibes that stuff like that makes you feel. Shadowed possibilities fill your mind. You know something is there, but you can't make it out. That's a good example of true fear. Fear of the unknown. So, combine a creepy environment with some ghost stories, and you got yourself a real spooky situation. Laugh all you want, but the very first documentary the Ghost Adventures guys made before they got the show actually freaked me out pretty good. Just this raw footage of them slowly walking around this dark abandoned hotel was enough to make my hair stand up, and really want to roam around abandoned buildings myself.
Okay? We have absolutely no fear of you.
Nick, you going there first?
Is that you making all the noise? Holy, oh my God, holy. Stop!
Those ghost hunting shows are scripted and cringy as hell, but they really captivated me. Not just because the ghosts floating around, but the places they can reside in. Just being in or around a supposedly haunted location gives you those weird, chilled feelings. Your muscles tighten up, your blood begins to rush.
Unfortunately, going into abandoned buildings is considered breaking and entering, which can get you a nice visit from the police and a fun little ticket to go along with it. So that really kept us from doing anything like that. Same goes for graveyards. There are like some old ungated ones, but it still feels like you're trespassing, especially during midnight when you're walking around in the dark wearing all black, carrying flashlights with shovels. I just get that feeling that someone will see us and call the cops on us.
But I have been to a real ghost town. Unfortunately, it's a historical state park that has been restored and kept maintained, so its spookiness was a little watered down due to it being restored. It was still eerie though, especially when it's later in the day and you're the only one there. The wind howling through open fields made it a little unsettling. Every city or town has its local ghost stories. So of course, with some internet digging, we managed to scramble up one that was fairly close to home. A haunted road, where you drive down the old road at night, nicknamed Lover's Lane Road. You turn off your lights and engine, then wait. After some time, something will knock on your car and shake it. It's supposedly the spirit of a woman who was on a date. The couple drove down the road and parked looking for a secluded spot to get it on. Well, I guess it was the dude who was looking for some action. The woman wasn't into the idea, insisting he drive her home, probably because this area is super creepy at night. Angry man, get no sex. Kick woman out of passenger side of car, speed off. Unknowing to him, when he slammed the passenger door shut, perhaps something got caught in the door, like the woman's dress or her hair, causing him to drag her down the road for miles. Now the road is haunted by her spirit. Of course, the info is scattered at best. At least 3 different road names and locations come up when you search it. User accounts give contradicting statements. Who cares? We just needed an excuse to visit a spooky spot and wear a Halloween mask to test out my new camera.
That was scary.
Of course, nothing paranormal happened. The forested dirt road was creepy, but it wasn't miles long like mentioned in the story. And there were a few nice ritzy houses along it, taking it down a few notches on the spook factor. We'd continue finding other similar spots and making videos of us goofing around. I wish we would have taken our filming more seriously though, and actually made a horror short that was a little more thought out and made use of the locations we visited. That's one regret I have during our video making escapades. The closest we came to making a horror flick was the time we grabbed a VHS camera and made a short little test film that was supposed to be like a found footage video, a Blair Witch style. That was the last time we used that old camera, mainly since my laptop at the time could barely handle running the files, hence the stuttering and the blue line on the side of the video. Probably my favorite video that we made was the one shot about a big man baby creeping around the house.
Oh god, what the fuck?
That again we made on accident and unintentionally. Again, it was supposed to be a quick test with the new camera, but they kept going, so I kept running around and messing with them.
We're gonna catch who's ever in here. It's your last chance to come out. Bro. 1, 2, 3.
But that's enough time fooling around. Now it's time to do some real ghost hunting. and find something with a little more substance other than fabricated posts by people with anime avatars. Real hauntings. Okay, maybe not real per se, but some locations with actual addresses and more evidence to back up the claims.
If you want to talk haunted houses, the absolute worst of the worst kind has to be haunted orphanages. For obvious reasons. And somehow, we found 2 of them. Coincidentally, not on purpose, I swear. The first one is from 2017, when we went looking for the Holy Family Orphanage in the city of Marquette during a vacation in the area. Located in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Although in recent days, this part of the state is a little more modern, especially in the city of Marquette, which is a big college town now, it still is a pretty wild region. You'll go spans of time driving without any signs of civilization. There are some really rural areas that go deep into the forests where it's easy to get lost. The winters are long and cold, as it being smacked in between 2 large bodies of harsh waters. Hancock always makes the list of snowiest cities every year. I think with it being unattached from the mitten and only a small portion connected to Wisconsin's rural area, the peninsula feels isolated, literally unattached from the rest of the state in its own little world. In fact, it's made up by some of the most rural counties in all of Michigan. Only one county barely ekes in to be considered an urban area of 50,000 residents or higher, at 66,000. But the rest of the peninsula has seen a steady decrease of residents since the 1950s. Once a popular spot for mining and logging, quickly became a hotbed for ghost towns after running all the resources dry. It wasn't the most inhabitable area back in the day. So people began to leave after the easily accessible natural resources were sucked dry. Remnants of mining sites and towns can be found all throughout the peninsula. Some small towns almost seem untouched by time. The orphanage ran from 1916 to 1965. See, this is the fun part where I get to do ace detective work and research more about the subjects. Unlike when we first found out about them and just seen the word haunted and went for it. For roughly 50 years, about 15 nuns looked after approximately 200 children at any given time. Some of its first residents were relocated children of Native American tribes, primarily the Ojibwas and Chippewas, that were ripped from their parents' arms during government-sanctioned cultural Catholic assimilation at the old St. Joseph Orphanage and Mission in Assonance, Michigan, which is a spooky spot of its own, which just so happens to be one of the oldest towns in the UP, built in the early 1800s. So, up until 1960, that orphanage slowly weaned out native culture, history, and language until it closed and the remaining children were sent to the Holy Family site in Marquette. It sadly didn't take long for the region's biggest brand spanking new orphanage to build up a bad reputation for being a dark and dangerous place for the children living there. Stories would leak out of the kiddos suffering at the hands of the nuns running it. Bill Nemesto arrived at Holy Family as an infant in 1929. It was kind of like an army style, like being in the service, said Phil. Everything was at a certain time, a certain hour, and there was a lot of praying going on. Praying when you got up, praying when you went to bed, praying when you went to eat. It was a strict environment. The church would ask for donations for the children to help with their upkeep, and sometimes that was not able to be met. It was rumored that the nuns would mentally and physically abuse the children living there, oftentimes giving unsettling punishments. The biggest story that happened there was one winter some of the girls went outside to play but got caught up in a blizzard. The others made it back, but one girl got lost for over an hour. She was rescued but died of pneumonia 3 days later. Supposedly, the nuns were so mad to make an example, they put the little girl's body on display in the lobby. Every child was forced to view the girl, to be reminded about what could happen to them if they were to disobey orders and go out in bad weather. Former residents confirmed that the death did indeed take place. The nuns held a funeral for the girl in the basement. None, however, would say whether the body was actually put on display. Another story of a boy that suffered a mysterious fate. The sisters tried to cover it up as an accident, and the boy was stored in the basement, totally sweeping the incident under the rug, like many of the happenings that took place at the orphanage. The building was known to have many ghostly hauntings, like flickering lights, moving objects. Green floating spirit orbs have been spotted in the basement where the bodies were supposedly hidden. Some local thrill seekers recall being hit with a strong cold breeze, then quickly overwhelmed by a strong smell of death, causing them to vomit. Well, we found the orphanage, but it was being renovated into assisted living apartments for senior citizens. The construction started less than a year before we arrived. You know those old people are absolutely screwed. The old chapel where many children prayed each and every day has been restored and is freely open for the residents to attend.
Next, we are going back to August 24th, 2013. And this one is a little closer to home. Alright, Dan, ready? This is rolling stops with Dan Ball.
Watch this one. Watch this one. Oncoming traffic. This is gonna be double points. Watch this one. Watch this one. Watch this one. Not even a complete stop. Going through. Don't put this on YouTube. I don't want to get arrested. Yo, I'm sinning.
Around 8:30 at night, we piled into my friend's car and headed south, driving through the rural, farmlandish county of Monroe to the small waterside town of Luna Pier, only 6 miles from the Ohio border. We drove down the main strip, running through the quiet downtown area. Only one bar filled with locals seemed to be the only place open at this time, which I think was the only main road going through this small city. We followed a few street signs going past part of a residential area, then entered an open yellow gate, slowly driving down a cracked and unlevel road to a small parking lot a few feet from a tiny patch of sand calling itself a beach, only lit up by one street light near the entrance of the parking lot. Our directions were to go to the beach, go around a fence, and follow the shoreline that's on a private property owned by the power company that bought the land, till we reached 2 stone structures that were remnants of Camp Lady of the Lake Orphanage. No child abuse to report on this one, thank God. This location was to act as an orphanage, as well as a summer camp where any child was allowed to stay for as long as they wanted. Children ages 7 to 16 could enjoy a variety of recreational activities, like swimming, handicrafts, putting on plays, archery, shooting BB guns, have dances, and stay up late for movie nights. They were supervised not just by religious sisters, but sometimes even college students who would work there part-time. It was your typical summer camp. Boys and girls were in separate camps. There was a dining hall, a rec room, toilets, showers, etc. The kids would switch up jobs helping maintain the camp. There was even a grotto where the campers would go to pray every evening. That's what it said in the article I found. I just thought I would share that with you. This is where the info for the camp goes cold. It was opened in 1940 and ran up until 1969, doing pretty well for itself, at one point housing up to 300 children. I found a few posts from actual people that stayed at the camp, all having fond memories of their times there. We walked on the beach and found a chain link fence bordering the forest from the beach. We rounded it and followed a thin pig path close to the shoreline. Our first obstacle was a large boulder-like chunk of cement with rebar sticking out of it. No idea where it came from or how it got there, but we climbed and crawled over it, ducking under tree branches, then continued down the rocky shoreline. The post that intrigued us and kicked off this expedition was one of tragedy. One day around sunset, one of the head nuns went for her daily walk to the lake. On her way back, she came to find the entire camp in a massive blaze of fire, all the children perishing in the fire that night. Rescue could not get there fast enough. Feeling responsible for the horrific event, the head nun went to the lake and drowned herself. Reports say around 1 and 2 a.m. you can hear the screams of children, see the apparition of a woman standing by the lake, and even some people that have visited the site report that they were chased out of it by a black phantom. The only thing that remains of the camp is the pillars of the welcome gate, LL, engraved on the face of the square pillars. There was also a fireworks show going on across the lake, so that was pretty cool. The shoreline started to get thinner as we walked in and out of the brush for about a half an hour. The path disappeared, and we were stopped. As we began to argue whether or not we passed the site, needed to go further and look for the trail or just head back to the car, a boat slowed down to a cruise about 100 feet away from the shore, then began to shine a spotlight in our direction. Unsure if it was a police boat, we decided to turn around and call it quits. So, doing research now, I found out that we completely went in the wrong direction. We went north when we should have headed south. With our defeat, we slogged back to the parking lot, climbing over branches and going around bushes, sometimes losing the trail, which wasn't even an actual trail to begin with. But as long as we followed the beach, we couldn't get lost. But just when things couldn't get worse, they did. Far worse than police or getting lost. Endless swarms of spiders began coming up out of the water, crawling past us and into the forest for our entire walk back. Now, I've never heard of spiders doing this type of thing, and the only info I can find was brine flies gather near shorelines, so spiders go there to catch them. I guess as the night goes on and the water begins to rise, the spiders have to retreat. Either way, it's something I never want to relive again. It took us a second to realize the ground was crawling and it was tiny black spiders beelining it back into the woods. I was pretty jumpy for the rest of the night, thinking one was still crawling on me. Even when I got home, I left all my clothes in the basement just in case one hitched a ride with me. Yeah, I think we got our directions mixed up because we had to use various websites and forums to find an exact location. But we did make friends with a toad, so the trip wasn't totally pointless.
Yeah, but I would be at work. Interurban Railway Bridge crosses at this point, so it is physically possible to cross into the city of Luna Pier at this point.
Weirdest thing ever. The best part of the trip.
Just in the beach.
Minus all the spiders.
Yeah, I feel really gross now.
Yeah, it says the property has a zebra mussel shell-filled beach with several old foundation stones to peak up.
So another failed haunt, either from misdirection or just straight up the changing times. But what if, this time, the ghost came to you? No traveling in your car to desolate lands or spider-filled beaches. The only thing that you have to do is go down a set of stairs into your own basement.
Well, not my basement, but my friend's. 2011. Ah yes, the old days of having to game in my friend's old, cold, damp, and stinky basement. When someone would flush the toilet upstairs, it would smell like a sewer for a few minutes. It was pretty awful. No one had Wi-Fi back in the day, man. The things we had to put up with to game online back in the day. We had the OG Xbox 360. No built-in Wi-Fi, baby. All Ethernet. Look at that mess of cables we had to run around. That has to be Modern Warfare 3. My god. Anyways, April 10th. It was a normal night of gaming in the basement. A 78-cent Polar Pop filled to the top with Mountain Dew game fuel, a bag of onion-flavored hoops, and Capture the Point and Fallen on Call of Duty. During the match, the sound of something paper falling on the ground and sliding came from the corner of the basement to the left of us. Nothing too out of the normal as it came from a pile of toys and junk. We expected it to have been a piece of construction paper that fell off or something. After the match, we investigated and figured it was a cutout of a star that was loosely stuck to the cement wall. Makes sense that it would come loose and fall to the floor. Scotch tape is pretty weak. Later on, probably an hour after the first happening, the sound of something else hitting the cold ground would startle us, making us jump this time, as it was a solid thud. The thing that fell was right behind us. What was it though? We got up and looked around the ground behind the sofa. My friend, using the flashlight from his phone, scanned along the wall. We all looked at each other and confirmed that the thud did happen right behind us. Right? On the ground next to a wooden bookshelf was a black camera bag.
I believe it was this right here. It was on that one. Somebody must have put it back.
That was the only thing on the floor that would have made that type of sound, and it was the only thing on the floor. I picked it up and asked my friend if it was already on the ground. He shook his head. No, it should have been up on the shelf next to the other camera bag. Next, we had to question why was it on the ground. The star had a legitimate reason to fall, but a large camera bag? Even if it was balancing on the edge of the shelf, there were no forces that could have caused it to tip off. The shelf didn't move an inch as I stomped my barefoot on the ground next to it. No one was even moving around anyways when it happened. No gust of wind could have pushed it. What else could have knocked it off? A ghost! A chill ran down our spine, and we decided to pack it up for the night and head back upstairs to my friend's room.
I personally think it's the ghost of Willy Wonka.
Not before grabbing the pretzel sticks.
Alright, get your head in the trough. That wasn't a pretzel. I don't know what I just said.
Around 2 o'clock, my friend needed to do his laundry. So we took the opportunity to head back downstairs and do a little amateur paranormal investigating. Of course, we can't take anything seriously and just ended up parroting Zach Bagans from Ghost Adventures and goofed around like a bunch of idiots in a smelly basement in the dark.
Before we enter the basement, give us a little background history of the house.
Chet lived here before because out on the sidewalk it's engraved Chet and...
Chet. When was this house built?
I don't know.
What happened in the basement that made you believe that there's some form of entity in your basement?
Falling objects.
Falling objects.
And it's just, when you go down there, it feels like someone's watching you.
Your hair staying up on your neck?
You can't go down there without it feeling like there's someone right behind you, peeking around a corner.
Breathing down your neck.
Getting ready to snatch you. And take you to the dark world.
And the smell. Describe the smell in your basement.
Poop.
Would you like to try talking to the ghost?
No, I wouldn't.
After asking a bunch of dumb questions into the darkness, we resorted back to our old antics, and somehow I ended up with my shirt ripped over my head like cornholio and holding a bottle of Dawn dish detergent, squatted in the corner of his basement trying to scare my friends.
What is that? Let's get closer. Don't go over there.
As stupid as it sounds, and for how silly I looked, somehow with our heightened sensitivity through the night, it worked. I legit scared them.
Did you have a shirt over here like this? That's what made it scary.
The scuttling.
But did you notice something come in and out of frame moments before they stepped into it? Later, rewatching our videos, our friend spotted this small light drift off the bottom of the screen. We had to go back down. Our investigation wasn't over yet, and he needed to pull his laundry out of the dryer. Recounting our paranormal activities for the night, the star, the camera bag, and the unknown light, we retraced our steps. That's when my friend came to a chilling realization. A few weeks ago, his grandfather had passed away. Rip Jim Ball. His family took in some of his belongings. For each happening, there was a cherished item right near them. The star, furniture from the grandparents' home, the camera bag, a guitar, the mysterious light, another guitar. Ghosts are known to attach themselves to cherished objects. So is it possible that his grandfather's spirit was with these possessions? Was the light an orb of a spirit? Was it his grandfather to tell me to stop acting like an idiot and get away from his guitar before I knock it over? Probably. I would, for sanity's sake, like to rule the orb as a light reflection, or from the film noise of my old crappy 480p camera, but rewatching a half hour of footage from all of our videos during that night, I couldn't find any reflections recreating that light, or any camera noise to move in that sort of fashion. We walked in that path a few times, and there were never any sources for the camera's light to reflect on. So, did we finally catch our ghost?
No, not at all. This was extremely stupid and a huge waste of time. The real reason I made this video was just a long marketing ploy to get you to buy Mountain Dew's 2022 mystery flavor Voodoo and Hostess limited edition Scary Cakes with Scream filling and the spooky wrappers that they come in. No, but really, I had fun going back and digging up years old videos that I had completely forgotten about. And I hope that you had fun. I hope no one got too spooked from this, but I will definitely be sleeping with my nightlight on tonight. Happy Halloween. Stay spooky, everyone.